Hello, all of you beautiful people out there. I'm in the office right now, getting a video ready for today. In fact, I'm probably going to be getting this video ready for today. I was going to be going out yesterday to shoot some video and get some stuff, some content ready for yesterday and today, and things kind of got upended yesterday. Early in the morning, I got a phone call saying that Logan had been in an auto accident, and it was scary. It was like one of those things. It's not a phone call. It's not a phone call all any parent wants to get, that your child has been involved in an automobile accident, and it very much upended our day. But all of my plans went out the window. I didn't really care about, I did, when I did head to the hospital, to check on him, I did bring a camera with me just in case, because I didn't know how long he was going to be in the emergency room. Because sometimes you go in there for something and you're there for hours. I mean, if you go back to the video we did about a month or so ago, he talked about when he was in the hospital for 19 hours with his appendicitis. And so I was preparing for, because I didn't know any of the extent of his injuries. I just knew that he'd been in an accident and that he'd had some injuries, but none of the injuries he had was severe. They were all very minor injuries. And I was very, very grateful and very thankful that he was okay. He was really upset because he just got the car. He only had it for 3 weeks. And And it was his first car. It was a car that was given to him by a friend of ours. And he had spent thousands of dollars getting it, all repairs and getting it registered and the insurance and everything going. And he was like, they just started the school year over at Cal State Bakersfield. So he was excited to be able to drive himself to school rather than having to take the bus every day. He liked to be able to have this new freedom of being able to just, because he's very busy right now. And it's one of the reasons why we sometimes have to pick and choose when Logan can be on camera, because he's so busy. He's with doing things with the church, and he's got stuff with InterVarsity he's got all of his classes that he's working on. And then he also tends to, and as he has been lately, tries to take on more stuff. I tell him truthfully to do all this stuff now while you're young, because when you get to be older, you have more responsibilities with wife and children and job and everything. You're not going to get you're not going to be able to do these opportunities. So you kind of got to take advantage of them now, and just hope for, that once you're done, that you were like, okay, I did all that. That was great. Now it's, but, and he liked the idea that he could be able to go from class to be able to go to a meeting and then go to someone's birthday party and be able just to drive home. And, he enjoyed being able to, help us out because it was the only car. We went from having 2 cars to 1 car to not having any cars. Now we had 1 car. Now we don't have any cars. And so we're back to where we were before. And he likes being able to take us to the grocery store and help us shop and do all this, this stuff. Remember, we did that video we had to go get sandbags. He enjoyed doing that. He enjoyed driving us around. It was weird for me being in the passenger seat so often, being in the back seat, because I was usually the one that drove everybody. And then I had to relinquish that to Logan, which was fine. It was like, because with my leg the way it is, I don't even know yet if I can drive. And so when that time comes, it's going to be really, really interesting. Let me see what that is real quick. That's nothing. Okay, I gotta turn this down. Put this on vibrate. So anyway, it was really scary. And I'm not going to go into the details of the accident. If Logan wants to talk about that, he could talk about that. We are going a little bit later. He went off to school this morning, and I'm going to be joining him to get some stuff out because the car was totaled. And he was so upset and so depressed because I just got this car. And what's going on? I don't understand why this would happen to me, and I told him, I understand. I've been there. I know what it's like to go through this. I'm learning something right now about reactive depression, which I think I've had probably a good part of my life. And reactive depression is when something traumatic happens. You lose a job. Your car gets repossessed. You're almost on the verge of being evicted. Your kid is hurt. All of this stuff happens, and you go through a certain amount of depression because of what's going on. And with reactive depression, it just depends on how long do you plan on staying depressed with this. And he was like, oh, I can't believe this happened to me. And I was like, dude, it happens to everybody. It's happened to me. I've had my fair share of automobile accidents where I was the driver or I was, the passenger, and they're all traumatic. And luckily, as you can see, I'm still here, but, I was trying to comfort him and trying to tell him, look, it's normal what you're going through right now. Everything is normal. He is going through that phase where he's replaying everything, in his brain. Like, could I have done something differently? And I'm like, no, dude. If you'd done this, you'd be even more hurt, than where you are now, And he's like, yeah, I understand. We're all trying to tell him, look, there was nothing else you could do. Just to give you one, it wasn't his fault. The accident was not his fault. And that's according to witnesses and investigators that were on scene. And right now, like I said, if Logan wants to talk about the accident, he can. But I'm not going to talk about it because my opinion is I'm just going to let the insurance companies work on them, let the lawyers work on it. I'm going to let everybody else handle it, and just kind of let's just be happy that, let's be happy, Logan, you're still here, because it would have been devastating if you had been hurt even worse than what you were. That's a fear for me. It's like I said, no parent wants to get that phone call that says your child has been involved in an automobile accident. Even if they're still able to walk away from it, nobody wants to hear that at all. And so I spent the better part of yesterday, being with my son at the hospital. My wife took the day off of work to be with him. We were both there. We were, luckily when I was there, he was, he'd been triaged and he had been given some pain meds, and we were waiting to hear from the doctor. And the doctor decided not to give him any other treatment. Doing any other, it didn't seem like any of his injuries were major, and that doing X-rays would have just exacerbated certain things. So, but we are still keeping an eye on him. And we keep reassuring him, look, dude, you're going to get some money and you can get another car. And he's like, yeah, I know, but I love this car. It was my first car. It was, and I put so much time and effort and money into it. I'm like, yeah, that's everybody. But I kept explaining to him, a car is a car. You are you, and I would much rather you be alive and not hurt and not in the hospital than that the car be okay. That was a lesson I had to learn, myself, when I was trying to, I had a car that I didn't want to get rid of, but the repairs were expensive and I wasn't going to be able to afford them. And I was like, oh, I don't want to let this car go because it was my mom's car, And of course, when my mom passed away, I got her car and I didn't want to see it go on the back of a flatbed, but I had to be reminded, it's just a car. It's not my mom. And I had to keep telling Logan, it's just a car. We're happier that the car saved the car. I mean, the airbags were deployed and everything. We're happy that you're here alive walking with us because it could have been so much worse. And he logically he understands that, but emotionally it's just, I understand. Emotionally it's devastating. But I put everything on hold yesterday. I was like, I did bring a camera with me just in case, because like I said, I wasn't sure how long he was going to be in the hospital. And I'm the kind of person where it's like, I'm not someone who could just sit there and wait. I did that one time, with Logan on something else when he was having surgery, and I was in the waiting room and I was going absolutely nuts with worry. And I brought the camera with me to distract me, to go out and shoot a video, something close by, so that I can be distracted. I know a lot of people will say, why would you do that? Because, you should be with him. And I'm like, yeah, I understand. That's my number one goal. But, but I'm also the kind of person where it's like, there's nothing else I could do but sit here. I mean, I need to go out and be proactive and active in something just to keep my mind off of it. You understand what I'm saying? Just to keep my mind off the situation. Luckily for me, I didn't have to do that. And the funny thing is that Logan is like, he knew I was going to bring a camera, and he was kind of upset because there are certain things he doesn't want. I mean, unlike me, I don't mind, putting my life out there, but he likes to have a certain amount of privacy and decorum, and he didn't want me bringing a camera. Like, well, Logan, how was your day? What happened? And I was like, kept assuring him, no, I didn't bring the camera for that. I didn't bring the camera for that. I respect his privacy. I respect that, there are certain things that he doesn't want to reveal and talk about. He's like, Dad, you always bring a camera because you're always thinking that we're going to get a video out of it. And I'm like, no, I bring a camera because there's always that opportunity that I might get a chance to shoot something for a video that I wouldn't otherwise get. And in our lives, we've always had a camera on us, so we're always ready to film something because, if you look at social media, stuff's on there all the time. But I wasn't about to, go to the hospital and be like, if he was, because the one thing I didn't want to, like, if he was like in the back in a bed, and he was hurt worse than, I didn't want to sit there with well, Logan, what happened? Why are you here? No, I didn't. That's kind of intrusive. And like I said, I respect that he wants a certain amount of privacy in his life. He doesn't want everything. He doesn't want every part of his life put on YouTube. I get that. I understand that. There are certain parts of my life I don't want on YouTube either. But we know that, we love and appreciate you guys. We really do. And I know that when I put some stuff out here like this, that you guys are really concerned. But he's okay. He's going through just a traumatic period right now. It's only temporary. I keep telling him it's only temporary, dude. And he's like, I know. But the idea of just going back to having to ride the bus everywhere again and possibly having to ask for rides again. And like, people are going to understand that you were just in an automobile accident. They're not going to sit there and go, oh, again, you need another ride? No, they're going to be like, hey, how can I help? And I think he understands it. He's just frustrated and he's depressed. about what happened, and I understand that. So I just wanted to give that quick update. I know I kind of rambled on a little bit, but it kind of shook me up when I get that phone call because it reminded me of all the accidents I was in. And of course, when your kid is out there driving around, as a parent, you're always worried something like this is going to happen. And I'm just appreciative to God that he was not hurt. You know, I mean, he had some very minor injuries, but he was not severely hurt. That's what I'm very, very thankful for. I will check with you. I will check in with all of you later. I need to get a little bit of work done before we head on out to go check on the car. I'll talk to y'all later.